We're going to continue with example 4. So we ended off where I brought down the positive 8, and now we need to ask ourselves, what do I need to multiply x squared by to get a negative 7x squared? And the answer to that question is a negative 7. So what that looks like is a negative 7 times the x squared plus 3. If I distribute, that gives me a negative 7x squared. And then a negative 21. Now this is my x term, so I don't want to put it right under here. I want to put it underneath the constant, so minus 21. Remember, we are subtracting this expression, so two negatives makes this a positive, so negative 7x squared plus 7x squared, those cancel out. And then I do have that 8x, and 8 minus a negative 21 is a positive 29. This right here is where we're going to have to stop, because I cannot multiply x squared by anything to get an x. I would have had to divide by an x. So this is my remainder. So I'd put plus my remainder, 8x plus 29, all over x squared plus 3. Example 4 was probably a harder problem than I'll typically give you on the homework or perhaps on a quiz. You now are going to try 2 try problems. Notice how number 1 is written in a little bit of a different way, and keep in mind the first step is always to write the dividend in standard form, and you may need to use placeholders. Go ahead and hit pause on the video and then play when you are ready to go over the questions. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult for you. Instead of doing what I normally do, where I just show you my work and tell you to check, I am going to offer a little bit more of an explanation, since this can be a harder topic for some people. Whenever it's written as a quotient like this, the numerator is going to be our dividend, and the denominator would be our divisor, so what we're dividing by, meaning the x plus 3 goes out here, and then the numerator will go here. But again, I mentioned step 1 is it must be in standard form with placeholders. So I do see it is in standard form, the 2x cubed plus 4x squared, and then I don't have an x term, so I'm going to have to put plus 0x and minus 5. We always have to ask ourselves, what do we have to multiply the first term by in the divisor to get the first term in the dividend? So x would have to be multiplied by a 2x squared in order to get a 2x cubed. So we would subtract 2x squared times x plus 3, and that would be equivalent to 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. 2x squared times 3 is a positive 6x squared. Remember, we are subtracting, so these cancel out, and then I have a 4 minus 6, giving me a negative 2x squared. Again, if it helps to go back and change all these signs, that's perfectly fine. And now I need to bring down that 0x. We need to ask ourselves, what do I need to multiply x by to get a negative 2x squared? Well, that would be a negative 2x. So negative 2x times our divisor would give me the next expression. Negative 2x times x is a negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times a positive 3 is a negative 6x. All right. These cancel out, and then I have 0 minus a negative 6, so 0 becomes plus 6x. And then we bring down our minus 5. What times, or x times what gives me a 6x? Well, that would be a 6, a positive 6. So 6 times x plus 3. I distribute, and that would give me 6x plus 18, but I am subtracting this expression. So the 6x's cancel out, and then I have negative 5 minus 18, which is a negative 23. X cannot be multiplied by anything to just get a number. So this is our remainder. So I would put a plus a negative 23 over x plus 3. You also could have written this as minus 23 over x plus 3. And then number 2, the divisor is x squared plus 5. And the dividend, written in standard form, would be x cubed plus 8x squared minus 3x plus 16. All right, so now we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to multiply the x squared by in order to get the x cubed? And the answer to that would be an x, so x times x squared plus 5. If I distribute that, that gives me x cubed plus 5x. I had to write the 5x underneath the x term. I don't want to write it underneath the x squared term because then I might get confused and try to combine unlike terms. So now what I'm left with after subtracting the expression is the x cubes cancel out, the 8x squared stays the same, and then I have negative 3x minus 5x, so that's a negative 8x. Okay? And then I need to ask myself, what do I need to multiply x squared by in order to get an 8x squared? Well, that would be really simple. It's just an 8, so plus 8. Now I'm going to write off on the side 8 times the x squared plus 5. So that gives me a, oops, forgot to bring up the plus 16. I was wondering what looked different. So that gives me 8x squared and then a plus 40. And I am subtracting this expression. Notice once again how I wrote the 40 underneath the constant, not the 8x squared, because I don't want to get, or the negative 8x, because I don't want to get confused and combine unlike terms. So when I subtract this, the x squares cancel out. I have negative 8x minus, there was no x to combine it with, so it just stays the same. And then I have a 16 minus a 40, which is a negative 24. So now I have x squared, and it cannot become an x. So notice how I always stop when I hit the power, or power below what it should be. So I'm just going to have this be my remainder, meaning I have plus, we write our remainder over our divisor, so a negative 8x minus 24 all over my divisor of x squared plus 5. You cannot just write minus here because I have 2 terms in the numerator as opposed to 1. So if you wanted to make this a minus, you'd have to pull out the negative from each of these or change the sign of both terms, so it would be minus 8x plus 24. I would just avoid the headache and leave it like this. Your homework for tonight is a textbook assignment. If you're a remote learner, you have not been assigned a textbook, and there is a PDF of this assignment on Google Classroom. If you're an in-person student and you just don't want to carry your textbook home with you, then you can go ahead and just use that PDF in Google Classroom. I have posted the answers as well. So on that PDF for the textbook assignment, page 1 will be the assignment without the answers, and page 2 would be the assignment with the answers. You must show all of your work in order to get credit. You can't just write your final answer. Remember, you are now supposed to be submitting your notes. So you should submit the notes from this video, an assignment with all of your work, and if you need feedback, you should check your answers first and then write a private comment saying what you would like to receive feedback on. Otherwise, I'm going through and just checking for completion.